Hello, my name is Lindsay Brown. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today we're going to go through the motion for safeguarding the children's play parks in Belfast. I've got the motion in front of me here, and there's 3 key points to this motion. Now, we all know that Sinn Féin, SDLP, Alliance and Green Party, people before profit, have all said that they didn't want this motion to go ahead. Okay, they did not want this motion to go ahead. So let's have a read at this motion and understand what it is they're objecting to, because I don't think we're going to understand it right, but we'll try. We will try and understand what it is they're objecting to. So, the Safeguarding Belfast Play Parks. So it starts off by saying Belfast City Council, hereinafter this council. So what they mean by that is that they're not going to say out Belfast City Council every time, they're just going to say this council. So if I say this council, you know I'm talking about Belfast City Council. Okay, so this council expresses its deep concerns at the growing number of reports relating to indecent, threatening and predatory behaviour in council-owned play parks across Belfast. These spaces, intended for the happiness and well-being of our children, are increasingly being compromised by individuals loitering without lawful purpose in a manner that alarms parents and communities. Now, we know that all to be true. Right, we know that's happening. We've all seen the video evidence, right? We've all seen it. We've seen it with our own eyes. Some of it, I've actually seen it physically myself in the flesh, right? We have seen this happening. We know this is happening. We know our play parks are not as safe as they used to be. That is fact. Okay? Fact. Now, let's go on to the next part. This council believes that every child has the right to play safely, and every parent has the right to peace of mind when bringing their child to a local park. Couldn't agree more. Kids definitely should have their safety. We used to play in the park all the time. We used to play in the park all the time. We were going to the park now with no main roads to cross, which I would say a lot of these guys in their local parks won't have any main roads to cross either, and that was the main thing. And that's why these parks are in local areas, so the kids have their own main roads to cross, and they can go by themselves across to the park. Now, we loved that as kids. We loved it. We were never away from the park. There was a community centre, there was a park, we were there all the time, and we were safe, okay? We were safe. There was maybe parents, would have walked across the field every so often to go to the shop or whatever, so we knew they were still sort of keeping an eye on us, but we were safe, okay? And that's all we want for the future generations. That's it. Just want the same type of childhood, safe, playing in a park. Is that too much to ask from our local councils? I don't think so. So it goes on to say, public spaces must reflect public values, including the protection of childhood innocence, the upholding of decency, and the moral duty to safeguard the vulnerable. Accordingly, this council commits to the creation of a comprehensive safeguarding Belfast play parks policy, including but not limited to the following objectives. So this, which I believe was the DUP, put this motion in. And this is what they're asking for. They just want the safeguard of the vulnerable, protection of childhood innocence. Again, does all of us not want that? I would be surprised if I found one human being that would say no, they don't want that. We all want that for the kids and the future generations, right? So let's talk about the 3 points then. So this is including these objectives, okay? So these are the objectives. If the motion had been passed, this would have been the objectives for this motion, right? So there probably would have been like a more detailed plan of action put in place in relation to these objectives and any other ones, because it says but not limited, right? So there could have been other objectives in there as well. Now, the first one, to prohibit loitering in and around children's play parks by an adult not accompanying a child or without a legitimate purpose. So, this would be a policy to protect kids. For me, not allowed to go around a park, and I'm okay with that, right? I'm okay if there's a thing in place. I don't have any kids. I shouldn't be hanging around parks. I don't, by the way, okay? I don't. But that, I would be quite happy. Me being a person with no kids, I'd be quite happy with that in. Now, you will see me at a park every so often, because I'll maybe have my friend's kid and I'll take her to the park. Or maybe I will go with my friend while she takes her child to the park, and me and my mate sit and have a chat, and the child could be playing, or sometimes I'll play in the park too with the child. That's all good. But should I be going hanging around parks by myself? No, right? course not. So if there's other people out there that are maybe in their 40s, from this country or not from this country, it doesn't matter, then they shouldn't be going there. And this policy would protect that, and I think that's okay. I'm quite happy to have a policy in place to stop me to go to play parks on my own. Not that I would do it, but I get that it's a sensible policy, okay? And the difference is the values. We know not to do that. A lot of these people, and it is a bit of a shame that we have to put these policies in place, because quite frankly, we all know not to do that. Unfortunately, there's some people now in our country that don't either don't know they're not allowed to do it, or quite frankly, and I believe more is the case, is that they don't care. They've got a different agenda of why they're there, okay? The second one, to conduct a full public consultation, both online and in person, to hear the views of the residents, parents and guardians, and community organisers in directly shaping this policy. So they wanted the citizens in the areas, they wanted their opinions, they wanted their advice to help put this policy in place. Again, I think that's perfect, right? That is speaking to the people, seeing what their concerns are, and seeing the best way to move forward with this. Is there anything wrong with that? Like, to me, that's actually awesome, because you're actually willing to ask the people what they want in their local areas. Right? So how can somebody object to that? How? I don't get it. How could you object to any of these two things so far? The third one is to work with statutory bodies, including the Police Service of Northern Ireland, the Home Office, and community organisations to combat predatory sexual crime and antisocial behaviour in our public spaces. Why would you not want that? Why would you not want less antisocial behaviour around and combat predatory sexual crime? Why would you not want that around our parks? Now, we know that is our Sinn Féin, our SDLP, our Green Party, our Alliance Party, our People Before Profit. That last one definitely doesn't surprise me. But why would they turn these 3 points down? Why would they say no to this motion? Why would they not want to look into this more? I honestly cannot understand it. And I'd love to hear your thoughts, especially if you're somebody that disagrees with me on the stuff I talk about. Would you seriously not want these three things to be a policy to put these three things in place for your kids in your play areas? Like, really? So anyway, we know that that's now been rejected, and I think that these parties need called out on it. They need called out. We've read the motion. We see what the motion wanted to bring forward, and you objected to that. Not you guys, you know what I mean. You know, how can they justify that? And I'd love to hear how can that be justified, because quite frankly, I think it's an absolute disgrace that they rejected this motion. An absolute disgrace.